Hey there guys, so today we're taking a look at No Man's Sky running on the AMD Ryzen 5 5500U. Now the game is currently running with the lowest in-game graphics preset, and our TDP is set to the stock 15 watt TDP. And as you can see here, running this at 1080p is really just way too demanding. Our 1% lows are relatively close to our averages, but our averages are abysmal. And you can just really see that overall the experience of playing like this is really rough. Now, I'm not the biggest fan of this game in general, so I don't really know too much about what to do in here. From what I gathered, it's literally you just go around and shoot rocks and stuff like that. There seems to be some larger stuff going on, but I gotta admit, I'm not the biggest fan of games like this in general, so I really could not sit here and get very far into this, especially because the performance was just bad in general. We can see right now, let me show you what it's like to raise the TDP, because there were some certain issues that were very apparent. Raising the wattage to 25 watts was weird because you'll see that the power was fluctuating all over the place. It really was never keeping a consistent power usage, and the fluctuations were pretty major. And in general, you'll see that what that does to our frame rate and our frame times, it just makes everything extremely inconsistent. I'm not 100% sure what was the limiting factor here, because I mean, we were pushing the wattage into this, you know, I mean, it's not like the system was on battery or anything like that. It was plugged into the wall. It was running on its highest performance settings, and other games that I tested, because I was wondering if there was something wrong. So even after restarting the system, using the AMD APU tuning utility again, and trying out other games were working perfectly fine. It was literally just this game that was having these weird power fluctuations that were just happening no matter what preset I essentially ended up going with. Even switching over to the 30 watt TDP really did not do anything to improve the situation, because we were having still those major fluctuations. You can see me just standing here. You'll see that the wattage will just go all over the place. And there are just some very noticeable and extreme stutters that happen throughout the entirety of trying to play this at 1080p, no matter what setting we went with. And like I said, the power fluctuation was just all over the place. It wasn't until I dropped the resolution down to 720p that I started to actually get a reasonable gaming experience, where our 1% lows are now at 30, which is more than reasonable, and our averages being at 44 pretty much means that we are at least having a pretty consistent experience here. There are still noticeable stutters, especially as you're roaming around in the open world, but in general, it is significantly better than where we were at 1080p. So now I would say that this is playable, but we're still at the 30 watt TDP, and you'll see that our power usage is still fluctuating all over the place. So in general, there are going to be these stutters throughout all of it. I really have no idea how to alleviate the TDP issue here, but in general, at 720p, it is at least doable at the lowest in-game preset. But just in general, playing this was rough enough that I really had no interest in continuing to try to play this. Even at these settings, I don't think I personally would play the game like this, but I understand if you're the type of person that's just really into this, that you are willing to play like that. I might give the multiplayer a go. I know I have some friends that actually play this game and like it, so maybe joining up with them, we can see what the multiplayer is like. But at least in terms of single player, you're gonna have to go down to 720p and don't expect to have the greatest experience. One of those things where I would hesitate to recommend playing the game, except for the fact that I understand that this is a genre that is very limited in terms of options, you know, because as much as I don't really find this game to be fun, I think Elite Dangerous is somehow worse, in the sense that they somehow made being a space trucker the most mundane, boring shit I've ever seen. And we won't even talk about Star Citizen. So No Man's Sky kind of just sits on a throne by itself, almost by default, where it is the best of its kind, but it's just something that I personally cannot stand playing. I hate these games where you just gotta like gather resources endlessly. Personally, I just don't find it interesting to sit there shooting a laser beam at a rock for the 500th time because I need to gather some resources, because my plane just needs more fuel just to get to the next planet, so that I can just laser beam some rocks so that I have enough fuel to go to the next planet to laser beam some rocks. But if this is something that you're interested in playing, then obviously you're going to be able to do it at 720p. It's going to be a little rough, but it is doable. But anyways, I hope you found this video useful. If you did, be sure to subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.